What's up, YouTube? Jordan Spambob back again with another video. People are interested in seeing complete website built with bricks. In today's video, I'm going to basically bring you through my entire process. And this is actually going to be a real live website for a new business I'm starting up for scooping dog poop. Believe it or not, it's actually a very viable business model that you can look into. But before we get into the nitty-gritty about all of that, if you like this sort of long-form content, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Every day on this channel, I teach people how to make money, have more freedom. If you like money and you like freedom, then hit subscribe and I'll keep pumping out more content just like this. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about building websites that actually make money, right? And a lot of these tutorials, what they're doing is like, oh, we're gonna rebuild this website. We're going to basically do the hero and do a logo slider, do some featured cards, do a hover effect. And while all this stuff is like cool and cute, it doesn't make money. I mean, it does make money because you sell the services or you sell the website to an end client, but that's only one part of making money. What I specialize in myself and teaching my students is how to actually move the needle for your clients beyond just a pretty website. Because let's be honest, a website is a glorified business card unless it's generating a massive amount of traffic and generating leads for the business, right? It's generating something of tangible value that a business owner can point to and say, hey, we got 10 leads this month and we closed 2 of them into paying clients, right? If you build a beautiful website with beautiful hover effects and testimonial sections, and if it's not optimized for SEO, if you don't have your form hooked up to a CRM to kick off automations and send a text to your client when a form comes through, it could get lost in email and they're not making money. They're probably just going to get another redesign in a year or two because the last website you built them doesn't work. So it's all about building websites that work and that kind of increase the bottom line for your clients. But this is how I'm going to break it up. I'm going to break it up into basically the setup, which includes hosting, installing your plugins. In this case, I'm using obviously Bricks. I'm going to be using ACSS. I'm going to be using Rank Math as the SEO plugin. I'm going to be using Metabox for custom post types and custom variables, as well as global settings, which is super important. And then the phone number. So the phone number is something that ties into making money. Obviously, this is for my own business, so I'm going to purchase a phone number for myself. But if this were for a client, I would actually buy a phone number for them in my CRM. I would get it A2P verified, so they can get or send and receive text messages, and then that can actually be used in automations. So phone number is super important, which will be thrown in the global variables so we can change that on the fly. And then we're going to go through content, how to train your AI on the business info, keyword research, topical clusters, keyword mapping, creating a content template, and then this is a lot of setup, right? Finally, we get to the design, and the content should always dictate the design, in my opinion. You should never start with the design. You should always start with content and what you actually want to say on the website. And then you should move forward to building the pages and the design around the content, right? And then we're going to get into color palette setup, typography setup, some frameworks that I use for the design, which is rapid design and iterations. I think this is super important that people kind of get caught up in, especially, like this, where he's doing, heroes and stacked cards and doing all this stuff custom to kind of rebuild a website that looks really nice. While this is great for client work, if you want to emulate the style of a website and give them a really nice kind of user interface, in terms of actually just getting a website out the door, maybe for yourself or for rank and rent, you definitely want to use some frameworks or libraries, so to speak, where you copy paste. You're copy pasting a hero, you're copy pasting a header, a footer, So rapid iteration and prototyping is kind of the name of the game. And for that, we're going to be using Brixies. And then we're going to build the header template, the footer template to start, the blog templates for page and archive, and then forms. Forms are super important, just like the phone number. We want to choose strategically what type of form to use. You can use the built-in Bricks form, but you're going to have to use some sort of system to hook it up to a CRM. And since this is for my own business, I want to hook it up to a CRM where I can see all of the leads come in, and then I can kick off automations on the back end. I can do this with Gravity Forms or the CRM built-in form. Not sure which one I'm going to go with first. And then we're going to get into SEO. So interlinking, which is part of the design. You want to automatically interlink kind of in sidebars or setting up a quick link in custom fields, like a you might also like section, and also doing kind of manual in-content linking between pages. Really important for SEO. And then we're going to get into the schema code, sitemaps, checking indexing, submitting to Google Search Console, page speed, smushing your images, and then launch. So we're actually going to buy a domain in Namecheap. We're going to configure that domain in Cloudflare, and then we're going to launch and test everything. So I hope you guys like this video. All right, let's get into it. So step number one is setting up your hosting. In the past, I've teach people how to use Cloudways, and now I'm on GridPane. GridPane actually changed how they do their pricing. So now you can actually get, I believe, 25 free websites on GridPane, which is pretty amazing. But today, I'm going to be using InstaWP. So the reason you want to use something like InstaWP is you don't want to use your production servers or your client hosting for building websites. It's just going to bog everything down, especially when you're refreshing the WordPress admin so many times. It's just going to slow things down. So what you should use is something like InstaWP. I believe this subscription is less than $100 a year, and it basically gives you development hosting. It automatically configures a development domain for you, and you can actually clone websites. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down here to my Bricks Clean installation, and I'm going to clone. And for this one, the name of the business that we're going with today is called Scoopy Doo. And I'm going to clone this website, and it will just take a couple of minutes here. So yes, we are building a dog poop scooping business website today. Should be a lot of fun. Let me start the stopwatch here, and we'll just see how long this actually takes. All right, so that just took a couple of seconds. We're going to come in here to updates. We're going to update all of the plugins because obviously these plugins haven't been updated on this template website in a while. It's probably going to throw some errors like this because the license codes aren't applied yet. All right, so there we go. We have all of our licenses applied. We're only a couple minutes into the process. And let's just go over the tech stack really quick. So I have admin site enhancements, which gives me this kind of custom CSS for the admin panel. I just like a lighter theme, especially for clients. The old, kind of WordPress theme, everyone's seen it 1,000 times, clients included. So I just wanted a lighter, kind of more modern theme that has kind of higher contrast, more similar to something I might see in Shopify or Squarespace, right? Just kind of modernize things a little bit. I'm also going to be putting my custom code in there. And also when I ship this to a client, or if I was shipping this to a client, admin site enhancements is really nice for just getting rid of a lot of clutter over here, all the design tools that they don't need to see. So then they can just focus on pages and posts or whatever they need access to. Obviously, we are using Bricks, so Advanced Themer just has some nice things for Bricks. We're using automatic CSS and frames. Gravity Forms is my favorite form plugin. Happy Files Pro, we probably don't need this. This is just really nice for when we come to media. We can actually organize things into brands or into services, and we can actually nest these inside each other, which is kind of cool. Just a nicer media library that honestly WordPress should have implemented and done this years ago. I don't know what they've been doing over there at WordPress. they've definitely been sleeping on the job. So, we're forced to use plugins like this. Metabox for the custom post types, Rank Math for the SEO plugin, and then WP Codebox is just really nice for some custom code if we want to do like skeuomorphic glass or anything custom for the header, maybe a mega menu, something like that down the road. So it's pretty slimmed out. We're going to use Migrate Guru eventually when we migrate this over to GridPane. WordFence we probably don't even need because GridPane security is so good that we probably don't need to use that either. So yeah, we're running a pretty tight ship here. All right, quick timeout again. I just want to let you know about today's sponsor, which is myself. I teach people how to make money online using small, simple websites. You rank them in Google, you generate leads, you send the leads to a local business owner, and then they make money. They pay you for that service. It's almost completely passive income once you set up the website and rank it in Google. It's really a no-brainer if you're already doing web design, if you're already building quick, fast websites with Bricks, automatic CSS, all that good stuff, because you can actually monetize the websites that you're making. Instead of doing one-off client projects, you can actually build websites that you own, digital assets that pay you for a lifetime. So hit the link, the first link in the description if you want to learn more about learning that entire process of rank and rent. Here's Alex, one of my students who made a $250 a week sale on a website, a single website. And this is $1,000 a month, which is actually the average for a rank and rent website. A cool $12,000 per year raise. Pretty good. I'm sure you guys have seen this interview with Nick. He's over $5K a month. I landed almost a $3,000 per month marketing client doing a full website build and some marketing services. Alex says these freaking sites are sticky, 0 declines. And that's true. The thing about rank and rent is if people are getting leads, they never cancel. And that's why this business model is so passive, because you set it up once and you forget it. So I think Alex is actually over $6,000 per month just with rank and rent. And then here's one from Nick. He's also in the inner circle with us, and he had a nice $8,000 day. And he actually sold a website that he made in a low ticket niche to a business owner, and they just wanted to pay up front for the entire thing. So he sold the website itself, the phone number, everything for $8,000. So kudos to you, Nick, for knowing the value of the website. And this actually gets you about 3/4, about 9 months worth of payments right up front. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the Bricks theme settings here. So let's come over to Bricks settings, and I'm just going to go through some things that I like to make sure are set up. Now, when you use automatic CSS, they actually give you a Bricks configuration file. I am going to skip that because I don't like the settings that they kind of force you to use on default, as well as some ACSS settings. They tell you that you should use it. I'm just going to skip it because I don't like the things that they set. So here for post types, we're going to click on pages, make sure that's on. SVG uploads, we want to make sure administrator is on so we can upload SVGs. I'm going to disable all of these things. This is just default. And disable Bricks, Open Graph, and SEO meta tags because Metabox is going to be doing that, or not, because Rank Math is going to be taking care of those items. Duplicate content is fine. Form submissions, we don't need to save it in the database because we are not going to be using the Bricks form. Query filters, I'm going to turn that on, of course, because we want to be able to query blog posts, or if you're setting up a portfolio website and you're using radio filters, you definitely want this on. And everything else looks good here. Just going to save this to make sure those things save. Move over to builder access. This is fine. Everything here is fine. This is just where you want to type in frames, URL, and then your license key for remote templates, and then click save. So that is available in the builder. And then for autosave, I definitely want to disable autosave because as Kevin Geary says, I am a professional and I can choose when I want to save my work by just hitting Command S or Control S to save, or obviously using the button in the top right. I don't want it to be, doing things in the background or sometimes sometimes I screw up and I just want to refresh the page to get back to where I was. So I'm definitely not going to keep autosave on. Everything else is default in here except for down here in the structure panel. I want to turn all this stuff on. I want to be able to duplicate, delete. I want everything to collapse on page load because by default, Bricks opens the structure panel and it is super annoying. I want to collapse everything. And I also want to expand the active element and scroll into view when you click it. I don't know why this isn't default. It should be, because obviously when you click on something, you want to go look at it, right? So everything else is good here. Render dynamic data text on canvas. We can probably do that to improve the preview experience when you're building. Go ahead and click that, save. Performance, you can mess with this stuff. Disable emojis, disable Google fonts. This is probably the best thing to do, is actually download the custom font, and then come over here to custom fonts and just put it in there and then click this on. We're not going to do that for now because we're going to figure out what typography we want to use. And then this is where you're going to be putting in your Cloudflare turnstile site key if you use that, or CAPTCHA for your forms. This is only if you're using the Bricks forms. If you're using Gravity forms, you're going to be putting those in the Gravity form settings and using the add-on. And then here is really important. You want to enable code execution for administrators. And this is where you can put your Google search or your Google Analytics tags once we get to that point. So that's it. So Bricks is done. Let's move on to ACSS and check out some of those. Actually, we're going to be hopping in and out of ACSS, so we don't have to do that right now. We don't have to do rank math either, Metabox. So let's go ahead and set up the global variables in Metabox. So this is really important for anything that you want to have your clients configure on a global level. And we're going to come here to Metabox settings pages, and we're going to say global variables. You can say company info, anything like that. And I like to set it as a globe. And let's go ahead and publish. And you'll see over here it says global variables. And let's go ahead and create a custom field, a field group. And we're just going to call this global. Under settings, it's going to be settings page, and then you're going to select that global variable setting page you just created, and we're going to click publish. And here we're going to do a text field called phone number, and then we're going to do a text field of the phone URL. And the reason we're doing this is we want the visual phone number, with the brackets and everything, how we want it to look on buttons, all of that stuff. And then we want the phone URL, which is actually the TEL:+1 phone number, right? So that's that. And then we could even come in here and we can do, company name. And if you start to think about all of these things, you can create a template website that you can actually clone and duplicate hundreds of times, and all you have to do is come in here and replace the company name, the company phone number, the company URL, right? All of that good stuff, and you're good to go. And it updates across the entire website because we're using custom fields. Here we're going to do the address. What else? We could do a URL for the website URL. That might be good to put in the footer, or just linking back to the home page. Of course, you can do a directory, just a / to get back to the home page. But yeah, that looks pretty good. So if we come over here to global variables, we have all this stuff. So the company name, Scoopy-Doo. Now that I'm thinking about this, I'm not sure about the company name. And this is why this is so good, because if you ever have to come back and change it, you can do it in one spot. It'll update across the website. But I think Scooby-Doo Services might be good. Let's just call it Scooby-Doo. I don't have a phone number yet, but we can just go ahead and save this. This bugs me right here. It says the default template name up here, so I'm going to change this to Scooby-Doo so we can tell what site we're working on right here. So Metabox is all set up. Rank math we don't have to do right now. Let's go ahead and grab the phone number. All right, we're not going to get the phone number right now because it's kind of a process to get that whole verified. So we're just going to use a placeholder phone number for now. We're going to throw that in the global variables, and then we're just going to click save. All right, so the setup is basically done. Now we can move on to kind of more of the fun stuff. So we're going to train an AI on how to create content for our business. And today I'm going to be using x.com and I'm going to use Grok. All right, so I'm saying you're a content specialist and SEO expert. I'm going to give you information about my business and I want you to do keyword research, topical clustering, and content creation. Business name is Scooby-Doo, a pet waste removal company in Bellingham, Washington. Commit this to memory. All right, so it's asking some goals here. So aiming to increase local visibility, drive more bookings. So this will go ahead and search the web. It will look at other pet waste removal companies and their content. It says it's going to do the keyword research to identify high intent, low competition keywords for Bellingham pet owners. It will do topic clustering. So it's going to organize these keywords into content pillars. So for example, the target audience, there will be a page for residential and there's going to be a page for commercial. So these have very different keywords. A commercial property owner, like an apartment complex, a dog park, that sort of thing, they're going to be searching something very different on Google than a homeowner will be searching on Google. So it's going to go ahead and do all of that content research. And it says right here, primary keywords. And it looks like it's actually getting some keyword search volume, which is amazing. I'm not exactly sure where it's getting that information from, but it gives you the competition level, low competition, medium competition. So yeah, Grok is actually very, very proficient in creating content and actually doing the research for you. So here's some secondary keywords: residential pet waste removal, commercial pet waste removal, dog poop pickup service in Bellingham, weekly pet waste cleanup. So these are all the long tail keywords, all of the variations, which all of these, it doesn't have a large search volume, but all of these culminating into rankings can actually get a pretty decent chunk of traffic to the website. So here is giving us our first piece of content for a pillar page of Premier Pet Waste Removal in Bellingham, Washington. It gives you the word count. It gives you the slug URL right here for pet waste removal. And this actually does look like it should be the home page instead of an inner page. That's probably the primary keyword is pet waste removal Bellingham. Of course, I can come in here and say, do you think the keyword pet waste removal, because I just want to get clear on what keywords are going to go after the homepage. Maybe a keyword like poop scooping business. I'm not exactly sure what is the best way to target this, so it will actually come in here and tell you which is the highest intent or the brand authority local SEO. And it says here, pet waste removal Bellingham is one of the highest volume, lowest competition keywords. So that's what I thought. So we would probably want to do that for the homepage and not the inner page. So here we go. We're coming with a new homepage, puts the brand up front, which is quite nice. And then it goes after that primary keyword. And then we have the H1, we have multiple H2s with different pieces of section. So I can go ahead and tell Grok to go ahead and fill out the rest of the homepage content because this is actually pretty thin. I can say write the rest of the homepage content, make it at least 2,000 words. The FAQs will be nice when we get to the design because we can actually hook up the FAQs to the schema code to make sure that it is completely SEO optimized. So this is really cool. It's actually putting these in the correct tags. So we can actually just copy paste this directly into WordPress. On ChatGPT, you used to have to tell how to export or output the text right here to get it easily copy pasteable into WordPress. So here we can actually just copy paste it directly because these are going to be H2s. So this is really good, right? So we have everything covered here on the homepage. We have why choose us. We have our services section for both residential and commercial. I might put these in 2 cards so they can sit kind of side by side. One-time pet cleanup, the benefits of waste removal, and these will probably come with some icons, a clock for time, a leaf for environment, like a cross for healthier, enhanced, probably do some like stars or sparkles, stress-free, smiley face, and then customized solution, probably like a broom or a wrench or something like that. And then we have how Scooby-Doo works. Maybe put this up higher on the page. And here you can see why we do the content first, because we know exactly what type of design this is going to fit in. So how Scooby-Doo works is going to be a simple 4-column design where it's schedule 1, and then we clean your space 2, enjoy poop-free property number 3, and then flexible follow-ups number 4. Very simple. It gives us all of the content. It gives you an idea of what the design is actually going to look like. And then we have FAQs all right here. So this is really, really good. Super good start to the content. So we did that. We did keyword research. We're only half hour into this project and we are flying through this process. So content template and custom post type template. So let's go ahead and do that because I'm going to build the custom post type template right away. So then we can make sure we have our content dialed in. All right, so I said this looks great for the homepage. Now I want you to create a simple inner page content template that I can use for WordPress custom post types. Think about custom fields like H1, intro paragraph, call to action text, supporting H2s, pain points and solutions, and supporting content. Make it simple enough to keep the number of custom fields to a minimum, but enough to build out each individual service page as well as location pages. I think we're just going to keep this site structure very simple. So for the location pages, it will literally just be a service, custom post type service, but the category will actually be the city name. So that way we can query different cities. So for example, the main city, Bellingham, will query all of the services under Bellingham, so on and so forth for all the different services. And then we will have a different location page for every city in the county. So here is the custom content structure. So the H1 title, the intro paragraph, CTA text, pain points, which is just a WYSIWYG editor. So this is where you can list 2 to 4 specific problems, and then solutions, also WYSIWYG, and then additional WordPress fields, which are non-custom. Okay, so this is basically what it's going to look like. It's going to have the main title, an intro paragraph. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So we can actually build this out for each individual location and different set of topical clusters as well as keyword clusters to keep the keyword mapping per page very organized and optimized for SEO. So next I want to get a clear idea of the sitemap and all of the pages. So it said, now list from the keyword research and keyword mapping all of the primary pages for the website and all location pages based on SEO optimizations. And it comes out here with a keyword mapping strategy as well as the cities within the county, and then it will list out the primary pages. I think this is great. We can always restructure or add more keywords or more content to the website as we move along. Let's go ahead and write the first service page. So this is going to generate the first service page, I believe, either for residential or commercial. for the primary pages here. So let's come back here. Let's come to Metabox and let's go to post types, and we're going to create a new post type. So plural name is services, singular name is service, and we want to come to supports, and we want to turn on custom fields, very important. Taxonomies, we want to be able to add a category, and features, we can reorder posts, that's fine. That makes it so you can drag and drop them in the admin interface, and then we can order them based on the post order. And everything else looks good here. So archive slug has an archive, that's fine. We can go ahead and click publish. Now, something you should get into the habit of is resaving permalinks. So something that WordPress struggles with, maybe it's Metabox, but either way, after you create a custom post type, just come over here to settings, permalinks, and just resave the permalink to make sure that this custom post type kind of goes live in the WordPress database. And now we have our custom post type of services. Super simple, super easy. Now let's come to custom fields, and I'm actually going to take Grok and I'm going to put him just alongside right here, and I'm going to start creating the service info, or maybe service details. And let's go ahead and jump into this. So depending on the structure of your website, how complex you want it to be, or the content, the custom fields, you can put them in groups, and you can create groups that are collapsible. And I'm just going to do that just so I can show you. And I'm just going to call this intro. And you want to make sure that it's collapsible right here. So the default state could be expanded. That's totally fine. And then now this is a group, and you actually come here to the plus icon to create fields within this group. So the first one is going to be the main H1. I want to be able to set that independently from the title, because in the admin interface, sometimes I want it to be a certain title, which isn't necessarily the SEO optimized main H1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do WYSIWYG editor in case I want to use bold, italic, links, anything like that. I'm going to add it down here instead of just plain text or a paragraph. I'm going to put in intro paragraph right here, and then we have the call to action button, and that could just be plain text, CTA text. That's easy. And then we can go ahead and collapse this. So that's in the intro, nicely organized, easily collapsible. And let's go ahead and add another group here. And we're going to call this one, why it matters. And we're going to make this collapsible as well. And then we're going to go ahead and start with, let's go ahead and let's do WYSIWYG. I'm just trying to see how, what I'm thinking through right now is how do I want to break up this content? And this is why it's super important to look at the content first before you do the design. So here I probably want to have a little intro paragraph. But if I don't want to just have these in a bulleted list, which is probably the case, I probably don't want to just have it in a bulleted list, just in terms of design. I'll probably have little cards that go across, something like that. I want to have a different field for each one of these, right? Here's the first thing, and this is going to be the Y intro. I just want to make sure that it has a different ID than any other field in here. And then we're gonna do WYSIWYG editor again. And then we're just going to do Y1. That's probably fine. And then you can just duplicate these a few times. So I'm gonna duplicate that 4 times. Then you can come in here and just do 2, and it should actually update the ID as well. And this will make it a lot easier if you change it this way in the design, because then you can actually just come in here and change the custom field with a number, essentially. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And then We can add another kind of outro, I guess we would call this. Let's call that an outro sentence. And I always want to make sure that the ID is kind of semantically friendly. You saw there, I just put in a bunch of random characters. I don't want to do that because it's just confusing in the builder when you see something like that. So there we go. And I know this is kind of a lot, but it will make it a lot easier in the design. And then this will make the website scalable if we add any number of services to any number of cities. And you can also clone this, right? You can clone this entire website after you create a template, and you can do it for another client. So our goal here is to build in efficiencies into our business, as well as our agency, right? If we're going to do this for client work, we want to make sure that this is clonable, scalable, duplicatable, all that kind of good stuff. And we set things kind of at a global level. So it's very, very easy to make changes. So check this out. So residential cleanup solutions is essentially the same structure as the why it matters. So we can just duplicate this whole thing. We can come in here and we can just call this solutions. And then this will be, and then this one actually has the call to action button at the end. So we are going to add plain text. And we're just going to call this CTA button text, which I believe is different than this CTA button up here. It just has CTA text. So that's fine. There we go. I'm just going to publish this just to make sure we save our changes. We're about 49 minutes into the process. I think we're kind of flying here. All right, and that's basically it. So that's kind of the end of the content for this particular service, but that doesn't mean the design has to end there, because what I actually would want to see in the design is a global component that actually lists the different cities in the county to kind of help with interlinking and all that good stuff for SEO. Because this is kind of a pillar page. This is just talking about residential pet waste removal. This isn't actually targeting a specific city. You'll notice here it says in Whatcom County. So it's actually targeting the county. It's not targeting the city. So this can actually generate some traffic if someone is searching for the county, right? So you kind of have to think about structuring your website in silos. What is the top hierarchy, and how does it drill down into more and more specific keyword clusters as well as locations? So what do you say? Let's go ahead and add the first service here. One really important setting I forgot to tell you guys about is under the service details custom post type field group. You want to make sure that the custom post type equals the custom post type that you set up. So in this case, the location will be post type and service. Go ahead and click update, and then we can come back to services, come to residential, and we see all of our fields right here. Now, depending on how many you're adding, this might not happen. And the reason it doesn't happen is if you come into your installation and you come to PHP config, it says max input variables is 1,000. So this is actually counting each individual variable on the back end. I'm not actually sure what is using to kind of calculate this, but I was having some trouble actually saving my custom fields group. So I increased this from 1,000 to 2,000, and then WordPress was able to save it correctly. So just keep that in mind. Max input variables might need to be bumped up on your installation if you're having trouble saving all of these custom fields. And here it just says entry. We could probably change the names for that. But here we go. So now we can start to input the different pieces in here. So the H1 title is going to be residential pet waste removal. The intro paragraph is going to be this. And yep, that looks pretty good. The CTA text be that. And in these different content sections, I'm just going to format it the way I can, because I told the AI to make it as simple as possible. So you could pull out this title, you could pull out these into individual custom fields like we did in the other sections, but I think this will work super well. There we go. So we have kind of an intro header. We have the Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, and then the outro sentence. All right, next I want to set up the snippet for SEO. So I want to set the SEO title and the meta description. Now, sometimes it goes over, and honestly, Google will put in their own description, even if you set one here. It's really annoying. It's been happening for years, but it will scan your content on your website and it will basically just give you, you know, a description, even if you set one here. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. And I think I'm gonna actually expand this permalink. The AI just says to put residential, but I think I'm going to try to put in even more keywords into this permalink. I'm just gonna say residential pet waste removal, just to really get after those keywords. All right, we're an hour in and we created the website template, we created a custom post type, we created the custom fields, we configured some global variables, we created the content plan, the keyword research, the SEO research, the keyword mapping, the sitemap, as well as a service page. So now we can come in here and we can start building out the actual website for the header, the footer, and everything in between. So let's go ahead and start with the header, and I'm going to edit with Bricks. I'm just going to open this in a new tab so we can actually get all the screen real estate here. And now finally, an hour into this video, we are we are actually setting up Bricks, okay? And this is what you are all here for. But again, I like to do a holistic approach to web design. I really want to teach people how to make money and have more freedom. And along with that comes content and SEO and actually monetizing these websites and building legitimate businesses. So just wanted to put that out there. Here, I don't have a logo yet. So I'm just going to type in the name of the business. Here we can do book now, you know, as a call to action. And we just have a simple nav menu. Now, how did I get this? Well, again, there's a couple ways that you can use libraries to your advantage. One of them is frames, where we can come down here to frames. I already configured this in the brick settings at the beginning of this video. But we can just go ahead and select a header right here. If we come down to headers, here's a whole bunch of headers already ready to go. Now, I might actually want to get one with a phone number. So it says there's conflicts where I think you can actually just discard these and then import the classes like so. And here I can delete the first one that was up there. You can come in here, and this is actually an SVG, which, you know, is fine for the logo. It just says Scooby-Doo. I think this is the name of the site title, yeah, for the text. It's perfectly fine. Here, it's actually funny, it's using my placeholder phone number already, but guess what? We can actually come here to dynamic data and come over here to global variables. Boom, throw in the phone number. Same thing for the URL. Come in here, global variables, phone URL, put that in there. Call to action. We can, you know, we can do a custom URL, and before these pages are set up, you know, you can do just direct links to these pages. Usually it's contact, you know, for the main kind of conversion page. I just like to keep everything super simple. I'm not going to put in like get a quote in the URL or anything like that. It's literally just contact. Google knows what contact pages are all about. So for the call to action, let's just do that book now. And for some reason, it's actually not picking up the primary button styling for ACSS, even though this is using frames. Frames is an ACSS system. So I'm going to make this button action. And there you go. It automatically adopts the action color that I have set in the ACSS settings, which I'm going to go over shortly here. And then this is actually just the header kind of second bar. So what I want to do here, instead of a background light, I want to do a primary color. And this will just add some nice color to the page. And then this navigation, I want to set these colors. So here it's actually using CSS to do that, which is actually kind of nice. So I don't have to go through all of the Bricks menus, although I think you can set it that way as well. But in this case, it's using the variable of the action, which is kind of this orange for the menu links. So I might actually change this to white, depending on what color we choose for the primary color. So that gets me into automatic CSS. Now, before we do that, this is again part of the setup, or rather part of the design that we've suddenly moved over into after the content, and that's the color palette. So before I get ahead of myself here, I like to use Coolors. And these actually already look pretty good. So this is a really cool website. You just hit spacebar and all of these will refresh. And you can lock colors that you like. So those two colors are quite nice. And then you can just keep hitting spacebar until you come up with a beautiful color scheme, full screen. You can look, see exactly how it's going to look. But for this particular brand, it's going to be based off Scooby-Doo, obviously. So their main colors for the Mystery Machine is kind of like, this blue, it's kind of light blue, green blue, teal blue, and then orange, and then green. Obviously a lot of colors going on here, but I want to be able to utilize these all across the website. So if you think about the primary color, which one would you pick? I would personally pick the blue. And the reason I would pick the blue instead of the green is because if you start to think about the call to actions on your website and the colors that you want people to click on to take action, is usually the complementary color to your primary color. So in this case, what's opposite of blue? It's orange. So that actually works out quite nicely. If we picked green, then we would probably go more into the red area. I mean, it doesn't have to be direct opposite, but this is kind of like my mindset when it comes to picking color schemes. So we can come back to Coolors and we could take a look at these. Obviously, I don't want to perfectly match the Scooby-Doo branding. I'm not entirely sure on the copyright infringement of any of this. I know Scooby-Doo, the actual text is using purple as well, which we might incorporate. All right, so let's do kind of this blue teal first. So this is kind of nice actually, this green, but we can actually click this right here and we can do kind of push it into the green and then pull this up. I kind of want it to be muted just slightly. Yeah, something like this, kind of like bright and inviting. I think this is looking pretty good, somewhere around there. So let's lock that. And then let's also do the green. So something bright, something in, the same tonal range. It might actually be a little bit more green than that. Yeah, it's like a yellow green. It's definitely a yellow green. So let's push this all the way over here. Something like that. Obviously, we can change these whenever we want. And then let's do the orange. I think that's actually looking pretty good. Somewhere up in here. Cool. So we have our three colors. We're going to copy this. We're going to come back here down to ACSS. We're going to open the color palette. Primary color is that. Come over here. Grab, let's see, this will be not the primary, but the secondary color will be that green. And then the action will be the orange. It's as easy as that to create a very cohesive, beautiful looking color palette. And this is kind of getting into the branding side of things as well. Obviously, we need a logo, which I probably won't do on this video, but I will definitely create one. Probably a simple typographic mark with a little dog coming over the letters or something like that. But yeah, this is looking really good. So let's go ahead and save this. And I think I already have this set up based on the template, but you definitely want to come to, whenever you create a template in Bricks, you always have to come up to settings, and you have to go to template settings, and you have to set the condition. So here it says it's on the entire website, and that's exactly what we want. Now, if you wanted to exclude this for maybe a Google ad campaign, you can exclude it on a landing page. Because on Google Ads, you want to strip away all of the navigation, because you would just have landing page specific navigation for that landing page. So that's where you can exclude this header on specific pages. Sticky header, I want enabled as well. So great, that's all done. Now we can come back here and let's look at the website for the first time. So there we go. Obviously the navigation will be in this blue bar right here. Let's see if it sticks on scroll. It does, but as you can see, it doesn't have a background. So let's go ahead and fix that in the header before we move on. So here I have header selected and background. We can come here to we can even come to secondary. We can give it kind of a light green background, even though this will be transparent. See if I do trans 40 and I save and I come back here to the website. It will have kind of this transparent effect, which actually might be quite nice if we do, kind of like a skeuomorphic glass. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. I'm going to come over here to my handy dandy Grok. And I will say, give me a skeuomorphic glass effect in SCSS, because I'm going to put this in code box, and I believe ACSS actually has a code box as well. And we're going to do glass dash dash secondary, because we're going to keep the same naming convention as automatic CSS, because this is the secondary color, and who knows, I might want to use the primary color in the future. Also using a glass effect. So here it is coming up with this code. So what I can do here is I can come up to the header and I can just add that class. So I'm going to say glass dash dash secondary, and that's ready to go. And then over here in ACSS, if we go home, we can actually come down here to global SCSS. I'm not actually going to use code box for this. I'm just going to do it right here in automatic CSS. I'm going to copy all of this and then just throw it in here. All right, so that's looking good. Save, and let's just check this out on the front end. So there you go, pretty cool kind of skeuomorphic glass effect. It has a little edge right here, which will have the navigation. It's a little hard to read on dark backgrounds like this. Obviously the logo is going to change, but this text, we should probably make bigger. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty cool. I mean, we can move on. I don't want to focus on the design too much right now, because what I actually want to do is get this service page template live, because that's going to be the bulk of the content, and we want to see what it looks like. So in here under Bricks template, we're just going to do a single service, and then template type, we're going to go to single, click publish, and let's go ahead and open this in a new tab. All right, so here's the fun part, right? Now we get to actually build out the design of the service page. So a library I really like to use is called Brixies, and you do have to come to their website to copy it, but they have a really nice radio system over here. They have a ton of different categories right here to choose from, a ton of different components and elements. So I usually like to start from the top down. And obviously what comes first is the hero, and the hero has the H1 title, it has the intro paragraph, and it has a simple call to action. Now for the image, I'm just going to use the featured image of the actual service instead of a custom field. Of course, you can add in multiple images in different custom fields if you wanted to show multiple images, or you can just bake those directly into the page template design. But for today's video, I'm just going to do, a simple hero like this. I'm going to call this service hero, hit enter, copy. And this is the beauty about using a library, is you can just copy paste entire sections into the website. Now for this, I'm going to get rid of this and change this to the featured image. For this text right here, this is going to be the service main H1. For this text, it's going to be the intro paragraph. I'm going to delete that button right there. And then this contact now, is actually going to be the CTA text. And of course, this will go to contact. For an icon, I'll just do an arrow, something like that. And of course, we can use automatic CSS classes here to style that as the action color. And then we can start to do all of the other styling. So for this scrolling section right here, you can get creative. You can do bags of poop, you can make a little icon where it's literally just bags of poop. Typically, what you would see here is kind of like social proof, where it's like, 5 stars on Google, that sort of stuff, which I think I'm actually going to do. I'm going to replace these logos right here. So I'm just going to delete that. And I can come back here to automatic CSS, and I can actually come up to components. And this isn't necessarily the components what you're thinking about in Bricks. It's just kind of individual things which you can turn into components in Bricks if you like to. But I'm really just looking for some stars. So here's some stars right here. And it looks like this might be the best bet. So I'm going to rename this. I'm just going to call this social proof. I'm going to copy that and just make sure that we're in the correct container right here. I believe this is it. So just paste that in there. And I definitely don't want people's images right here. I can just delete all that. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So now we can style these. And for this, I might do secondary. Let's see what green stars look like. Kind of weird. Of course, we can do purple, which is the opposite of this color green. I believe that just came, yeah, it says secondary complementary. So that's what's really nice about automatic CSS, is that it automatically comes up with these complementary colors, these shades, these transparencies, just based on your primary colors. And of course, Scooby-Doo, like I mentioned earlier, has purple. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. I think that looks pretty good. Just a little splash of color on this branding right here. And I'm going to actually increase for the text in automatic CSS. Default line height, I like to change this to 1.5. And then for the letter spacing, for the headings, I usually like to set something like negative, 1.9 maybe, 1.8, just so it's a little tighter. I know some of these can get a little bit, airy, kind of floaty looking. I'm going to delete that. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to save, and then we can come back here to the website, and we can actually just throw this service page, the service right here in the main menu. So residential, save, and then come back here to the front end. Take a look at the website. So here we have residential. Again, I know I need to change this text color or this link color right here in the header, but we can just click to go here. And of course, this doesn't work because I forgot to apply the template. So up here in template settings, you have to do conditions. It's going to be a post type of services. And I'm going to click out of automatic CSS. I wish I didn't cover the Bricks interface. And there we go. So we can refresh. And here's the first page, the first service page. It doesn't have a featured image yet. I'll kind of deal with images later. But yeah, we can start flying through this. So the next part of the content is going to be the pain points, so why it matters, and then the solution, so pain and solution. Each one has 4 pieces in it. So I'm going to come back here to Brixies and come back here to layouts. And what I usually like to do is filter by 4 columns right here. And this could be considered a content section, but I think it would actually be more considered a feature section. Features could be pain points, solutions, whatever. Yeah, I don't think I like any of these actually. So I'm going to come over here to frames, And I'm gonna see if they have anything that I like with kind of 4 columns going on. And they could be vertical too, like this. Like boom, boom, boom. Like why you actually need it. And this actually looks kind of nice. I can find some images here. Again, unless you have custom fields set up for these images, they're going to be the same across all services. So, you know, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I should just go with a more text-heavy service page here. Let's go to features. Let's see if we can. So this is actually more of what I'm looking for. All right, so I found this section in frames called feature section Bravo, and it already has all of these BEM classes applied to all these different elements in the structure, which is super important when you're building websites professionally or in Bricks. You want to always, you know, edit the styles on a class level, and these are very descriptive of what it actually is. So it's an intro Charlie is in the name of it, and then underscore underscore, and then the name of the element. So here we can come up here, and obviously this is white against white. So whenever I see that, I like to break it up with some sort of color. So I can come here to primary, and we can either do a dark, and dark might actually be kind of the move here because we're talking about a problem. The problem could be kind of like this dark feeling, and then the intro, yeah, the intro will actually need to be a different field. So it actually needs to be a rich text, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm using a mix of headlines as well as paragraphs. So here we can go to why it matters, and we can delete this, and we can delete, I believe there's a heading up here. Yeah, this heading. So if we just save that and then come back to the front end, you can see that actually puts the heading right there because it's using the rich text. And this should be an H2, and this should be an H1. You can see the difference in size. So we can just continue on with the style. So obviously here it lost the styling or the BEM class of the intro. I'll just do Charlie underscore intro, call it whatever you want. And you can actually style the color of the text right here, or you could use a combo class. So if you don't think you're actually going to use this anywhere on the website, you can just throw in a combo class of text-white, and that'll throw the text into a white format as well. But for this, I believe these are actually using rich text fields as well. So instead of this heading, I can come in here and add rich text. And normally I like to come in here and pin things that I use a lot. So I use sections, blocks, rich text, headings, buttons is a big one, icons, basic text. So I just have all of those kind of up top. And actually the way you want to do it is Command-Shift-E, I believe, and then you can just search for the element up here. Instead of clicking plus, you can just do Command-Shift-E on the Mac. I believe it's Control-Shift-E on PC. Let's go ahead and add in that rich text field right here. And here it is. And then we can do the service, why it matters 1. We can delete this. And here we can actually get rid of this block as well. Well, I guess it was actually going in the body, so we can actually put that back in there. And then this icon is in its own thing right here. This icon, we'll come back to that. Not sure what I'm going to do there. So intro Charlie, just call it Y, make this typography white. There we go. And now for each of these, we can go ahead and duplicate that rich text field. So basic text is deleted in all of these, and then just duplicate that 3 more times. Put all of those in the body, and then here for the custom field, we can just make that 2. And this is why you always want to make sure that these are really organized as you're building it out in Metabox, because then you can just come in here and change the number, because that's what it is, instead of using this menu and doing this every time. So then we delete that, and we can delete that. So we can save, come back to the front end, see how it's looking. So it looks like there's a little issue right here where it dips down for some reason. Not sure why. Also, it should be white text. There we go, except for this part. Not sure why that's not coming in. So I'm going to come back here to edit the service, and I just want to make sure. So that's why it's not doing this. I'm actually going to make this in H3, make all these H3s, so then we actually have a better looking design. Save. There we go. Now, for some reason, it really wants to make the headlines in this section black. So we can come back here and just make sure nothing in here is forcing that. And it might actually be in some CSS somewhere. So definitely want to make sure you check the CSS panel. It doesn't look like that's it. Come here to typography and let's take a look. Actually, I do want to change this base color, and I'll take the primary color and I'll make the base color shade of that. So I can turn off accent. I like to keep neutral and shade just so I can get some grays, and that looks pretty good. All right, so things are looking pretty good. I actually do want to change the typography. So what I usually do is come to Google Fonts, most unique pairings. These articles are very helpful. It will tell you what pairings to use, and they give you examples. All right, this one looks pretty fun. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo, Sansita Black and Overpass. So to apply that, I'm going to come over here to Bricks, and you come up here to the template, the theme styles, and here I already have one. And if you're using automatic CSS, they will give you a file that you should actually upload into here. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to call this, we can just import it. So here you can see I have ACSS bricks imported in here. It's going to apply to the entire website. And it has some variables in here for root font size, container width, code elements, headings, all that kind of stuff. So come here to typography, and we can come here to all headings, and we can come back here. So Sansita Black is the heading and Overpass is the text. So font family, we have Sansita for the headings, and then Overpass, and we can save, come back to the front end, and that's looking pretty nice. I think that's actually a really good, very friendly, approachable combo to use. Here I just want to set a featured image for the service just so we can see what the design really looks like. And you always want to set the alt text. So man scooping dog poop off a lawn. Again, alt text is just describing what's in the image. It's not keyword stuffing. It's literally just describing what you see in the image. And then I usually like to put the title as the description. And we can do save. And let's go ahead and check out the front end. So there we go. I don't really like the height of this, and I want to round the corners a little bit. So here we can come back, and it says the aspect ratio is 3:4. So I'm actually going to flip this. I'm going to make this 4:3, and come here to the border, and I'm going to add a really rounded effect to it, something like that. I think that looks pretty good. Obviously, this is a very low quality image, and I'm going to be getting my own images, but just for demonstration purposes. All right, so I still don't know why this is not picking up the white text. So let's go in here and just see what's going on. So it says it's picking it up from automatic CSS H2 variable of H2 color. So I see the issue right here. It has a default color of the headings, and for some reason it's not applying color that we set in the styling right here for all of the content within this rich text field. I'm not sure why, because we actually have it set to white, but I believe if we just get rid of this default color right there, then it will actually solve the problem. So this will rebuild the CSS, and then we should be able to come to the front end and see all of those headings change color. All right, so there we go. We have all of this text in white. I might actually want to change just this H3. So to achieve that, I'm going to come here to this feature section, and I'm going to add in some CSS directly in here. And we can do root H3. I believe it's in H3. It might be in H4. And we can just put in a variable of secondary, maybe. Get that green color. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks pretty slick. It's kind of the bright green on the dark green. I'm not sure about this title right here. Also, there needs to be a little bit of space in between this headline and this title. Unfortunately, we can't just do that with CSS or, a style panel because it's using a single rich text field. But we can come in here and see if we can style this. So it is using two different sections right here, obviously in the structure panel. And I believe we should be able to put a gap in here. There we go. So I just came in here to the root, which will basically target this element. And I just said for H2s, let's put a margin bottom of 1M. And we can see that solved that perfectly. So then we can do a call to action over here. For this, I'm going to do button primary, and I'm going to do button outline, and I'm actually going to put in the phone number. You definitely want to put the phone number all over the website, especially if you're trying to generate leads. You just want to tell them exactly what to do, which is call or fill out the form. So having a lot of call to actions across the website is super, super important. So there we go. We have the phone number right over there. And yeah, this is kind of turning out pretty nice. Let's move on to the next section. So for the solutions, again, it's kind of the same structure. So let's see if I can actually duplicate this structure, even though it will be a whole bunch of different classes and different setup. You can just add a combo class as well and just call it solution. And then you can come in here and change everything about it. All right, so here I just made a new class called solution text, and I can come up here and I can copy solution text, the class name, to the keyboard. I believe this is using advanced themer. So I can just copy that, and I'm getting rid of these other classes that actually have, that's basically making these pieces of text up here white. I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to replace it with solution text, and then I can style it independently. Go ahead and save that. And here, we're going to change the content. Come up here to dynamic data, services, intro solutions, dynamic data, services, solution 1. And then here, I can just copy paste this and then change the number. All right, there we go. And since this is the solution section, I decided to put the phone number here instead of putting it up here in the pain points. I just think it's a much better spot for it in terms of the design. So we can scroll down and we can see residential cleanup solutions. It looks like this one didn't come through correctly, so let's come back here. And sometimes it gets screwed up, or it is a different name in Metabox. So you can just select it like that. And yeah, I believe it was just this capital S right there. So capitalization definitely matters. Boom. So there we go. And yeah, we definitely need to have the same kind of gap in between these. Let's come back here and see why that's happening. All right, I think I actually want each one of these in its own card. So it says featured card Bravo. Gonna leave that like so. And I'm going to actually put a background color with a little bit of transparency. And then I want to add some padding. And give it a border radius of not that much. That looks decent. Yeah, something like that. And there could be icons right here as well. I believe there's an icon right here. All right, let's take a break from the service pages because I'm actually going to do a lot more with that with different sections and whatnot. Don't want to bore you guys, so let's go ahead and publish the homepage. So let's go ahead and switch gears and build out the homepage because I think this is something that you guys might want to see. Just building out a full page, not necessarily using custom fields or custom post types or anything like that. Let's just get the design done, make it look really good, make it the content really good, you know, geared towards sales, all that kind of good stuff. So here I have the homepage content specifically for the county that it's in. So we can talk about all the different cities in this county on this page. And the homepage is actually about what the service is, how it works, you know, our promises, satisfaction guaranteed, you know, kind of about us, and kind of other things like promos and why choose us, and then service areas that we can link to the individual service pages as well as some social proof, and then some other kind of supporting content like FAQs and why it matters and stuff like that. So this isn't going to be custom post types. Obviously, there's a lot going on here that I don't want to build out, and this is going to be the only standalone page using all this sort of content. So let's go ahead and hop in. All right, so first things first, let's grab a hero section. We're actually going to take this off 4 columns. Come down here to hero. And we're going to look for something that's pretty standard, pretty bold. We might want to use like a background. This one's actually looking pretty good. Or, you know, we can always just come up here and grab the current hero, copy this, get rid of these conflicting classes, import. And then we can come over here to the content. Welcome County's Pooper Scooper Service. We can actually keep this as the featured image for now. Come in here, and I'm going to get rid of this for the home page. This is looking pretty plain, lots of white going on. I might actually change this to... One thing you have to be really careful of is overwriting classes that you copied from a different page. If the look is going to stay the same, that's completely fine, but if you're going to change anything about it, like the colors and the background, you're going to have to use combo classes, or you're going to have to rewrite all of these classes. Now, automatic CSS has a really cool feature where you can rewrite all of the BEM classes. So basically it will detect the parent container, and then it will use that as the root, and then it will detect what type of elements are in that container, and then automatically apply all of these classes. Now, I don't necessarily want to do that. I just want to change really just the background. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to see if I can change this to a nice color here. See if I can come down. So I just made these quick little SVG icons, and let me just show you how I kind of implemented that for the background. So I added a new class for home hero, And for the background, I just put this 4 icon image right here, which is SVG. And I said repeat, and the background custom size is 30 ems. And you can kind of see what happens if I bump it up to, or lower it rather, to like 10. I kind of like the larger look, so I'm going to bump that up to 30. I think it's easier to read the text as well, you know, versus if I did like 1,000, or sorry, the other way, like 3. Then it's like way too small and it's more of like a repeating pattern. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. For the rest of the build, really, it's just copy pasting from different libraries, whether it be frames or Brixies, and I'm just going to build out the rest of this homepage. So I'm going to speed through this. I don't know if you guys need to see me do all of that. It's really just making sure I use classes, leverage ACSS, which Brixie actually already uses by default. So I'm going to go ahead, use the content that I have here for the homepage and really just build out this homepage. All right, stay tuned. All right, so I just flew through this website. I think it's actually looking pretty good. We have some nice hover effects going on. We have this kind of cool stacking effect with these cards right here for the services that will link to the service pages. And then we kind of have a fun little Why Choose Us section with a cool little dog and a little call to action. We will have a refer a friend program, but that actually relies on the CRM software that we're going to be implementing into the website. So this actually has to wait until we have that set up. This is going to be replaced with the form that I'm going to do next. I'm going to show you how I do that. And then frequently asked questions. And then again, this is going to be a form. So I like how some websites for this niche and this business actually say put in your zip code first. So it's a really easy ask. So you just put in your zip code to request service. And I think that's a really cool way to do it. Let's see, we're at 3 hours and 30 minutes into this project. Not too shabby for a first day of getting this done. And we're not done yet. So the next thing we're going to do is take a look at that form, and they're going to punch in their zip code. It will pass that to the next page. We'll take that zip code and enter it in a form, essentially, that people will fill out to request service. Now, in the future, I'm going to integrate it with the CRM, which has its own form solution, which you can actually tell customers what zip codes you are working in currently, right? So I was going to build the form out in Gravity Forms, but I decided to build it out in GoHighLevel just because I want all of the customer data in here for marketing purposes. I don't want to have to deal with Zapier, getting the data from Gravity Forms and WordPress over to GoHighLevel. So here we have a simple postal code form right here. So now I'm trying to figure out how to pass the data between two GoHighLevel forms. All right, so here I have the zip code form built in HighLevel. It's not exactly doing the one line like I told it to in GoHighLevel. This is kind of the issue with HighLevel. It doesn't do what you want it to in WordPress. I obviously have it here in one line, but for some reason it won't actually save on the website in that format. So I can go ahead and try reloading this and see if it works, and it just won't do it. And this is actually just until we can get the CRM up and running for actually scheduling people, because it does route planning and everything. So I'm just going to skip this part. I think this is okay for now, and I will come back to it at a later date. But for now, let's just try to pass this information once someone clicks free quote. What happens after that? All right, now let's create the contact page. This will be pretty simple. Say something like get an instant quote and claim your free cleanup. This tagline will say contact us. We're going to put in the tagline primary class that I have been using. And then let's just put in maybe this guy again. He's pretty cool. And we're actually not going to use this form. We can get rid of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in some code, and we're going to build out another form in GoHighLevel. So this will be the main instant quote form. Let's call it main quote. This button is going to be using this color right here. Change this background to that. And instead of button, we're going to say get free quote. The font family is what's it called? Let's see here. Theme styles, typography, it is called Sansita. There we go, so it's matching the website. Probably make this like 25, something like that. That looks really good. Let's put in something like this. We can actually get rid of this second terms of service. All right, so this is looking pretty good. We can do first name. I think I'm going to do first name. I'm not going to do last name. Cell phone number is required. That's obviously we need to be able to call these people, get in touch with them when we're on site. Email, we probably don't even need their email at this point. This is really just the initial contact. So really what we need is we need a zip code, which will be pulled over from the previous step. It's called a zip code. And then we need a coupon code, which is going to do single line text, coupon code, a slider, which I'm not sure we can actually do. Let's see if they have a slider. Doesn't look like it. I think that's possible in the survey, if I'm not mistaken. Or that's not going to work. Probably do a radio. See if they have it. Slider field. All right, so I created the form over here in GoHighLevel. Let me just copy the embed. Come back over here to Bricks, paste it in there, execute code, sign the code, and we have a CRM enabled contact form. So now we can look at this on the front end and boom. So this will go directly into our CRM. Now I'm actually very curious if we can test it on the homepage, if it will actually pass the zip code directly over to the contact form. So it should go to /contact if this works, which I think I know why it's not working. We need to come back here to the zip code. And instead of actually putting the query key in the URL of the open URL, right here I have passing the zip code. I'm pretty sure it will actually pass it automatically. Hopefully. That is the goal. So that won't load. Let's see if this will load. I'm really dumb. I'm trying to post it to the the live website. I'm getting ahead of myself, really. I'm just so excited to launch this website. So let's try this again for testing purposes. And we are going to actually use the correct URL here. So /contact. And I am going to try to pass the query code. So it is zip code like that. So let's go ahead and save. Now if we come to the home page and we submit this, it should go here and it says undefined. So we're getting somewhere, right? So why does it say undefined? It might say undefined because it's actually, instead of zip code, it might be postal code. So we can come back here and it says zip code right here, but let's just put it as the original, which was postal code. And let's save that. Actually, this will be postal code. And we just got to make sure that these match on both ends. So the zip code right here, it says zip code, but let's just put it as the original, which was postal code. All right, put in the zip code. This should reload. It says undefined. Anyway, I'll figure this out. We're getting super close to actually being able to launch this website. We have the phone number, which is in GoHighLevel. We have the form set up. Really, we just have to do a little bit of on-page and we can launch this website. I'm all about speed to launch. We've been working on this for about 4 hours today, also doing this tutorial. I'm all about speed. Money loves speed. If you can get things live, if you can get these rank and rent websites live as fast as possible, then Google can actually index them, right? That's the name of the game, is just getting them live ASAP on a brand new domain, because there's a lot of work on the back end for backlinking, content creation, and really building this thing out. And if Google sees you constantly updating the website and making it more built out with more pages, more entities, blog posts, more topical relevance, then you will shoot up in the rankings. And you might not even need that many backlinks to actually get this thing moving in the right direction. So I'm going to call it for today. We can probably pick this back up in another session, but today in about 4 hours, we achieved the setup, creating the content using artificial intelligence, and then we did the design, We didn't do the blog, but that's very quick. I could probably do that in about 10 minutes. SEO. So we can tackle the blog, and then the launch tomorrow. All right, I'll see you then. All right, we're back with day number 2 of the full website build in Bricks, start to finish, ACSS, Brixies, all that good stuff. So we left off in the design. So let's go ahead and tackle the blog template here. This one's going to be super quick and easy. So I'm going to open this up in a new tab here, and we're going to click Add New, and I'm going to say Single Blog Post, and over here under Template Type, obviously put Single, Publish, and let's hop over here to, oh my gosh, I have so many tabs open. I usually don't have this many tabs. I'm usually pretty good about this. Oh, the timer reset, that's okay. We were at 4.5 hours, and that was with doing the tutorial, so I could probably blow through this in just a couple hours. But let's go ahead and open this up in Bricks. We've got Brixies right here. We're going to go to blog sections. This stuff is so easy, man. If you have a library, a really good library that integrates with your CSS framework, then this stuff is so easy. You know what? Actually, we have to go down. Since this is the single blog post, we have to come down here to single post sections. This will be for the archive page. And I'm just going to look up something really easy. Let's just go with something really simple, maybe this one. I'm just going to call this blog post. And then we can go ahead and paste this in here. Single blog post. So this is already set to the title, so we don't have to change that. This is already, it says it's going to be set to the featured image, but it doesn't look like it is. So I'm just going to change that to featured image using the dynamic data right here. Let's go ahead and just change this to, we could change this to author if you wanted to. If you come under posts and you go to author should be somewhere here. Oh, it's right here, author name, and post date. We're going to have to enter the dynamic data right here, post date. And I'm actually going to tag this. I'm going to make this color the primary color. Maybe the slightly darker version. That's the author name. And actually, since this will be a single author website, I'm just going to put Scooby-Doo Washington. See, that looks good. Share this post. Maybe make this the action color, just for fun. People to look over there. We could change these icons. I don't really care. This will just be for SEO purposes. Just getting content on page. Now this is justified to the left. This will be over in the center. This will be, I think I might as well justify that in the center as well, just so it's kind of like a streamlined looking post. All of this is already optimized for mobile. We don't have to do anything there. And we can click save. And of course, I always forget, we always have to come up to template settings, conditions, add a condition. Post type is on posts. Save. And then we can come over here to post, and we can just take a look at this placeholder post right here. There you go. Super easy. Obviously, there's going to be an image up here, and the content is going to be in here, but we already have breadcrumbs for the categories. And then the category pages, this is something that you could style if you want to. I don't really mind leaving this as the default that Bricks already has in here, because it's really not for a content, it's not for a user navigation content website. It's really just to get keywords and topical relevance on page for ranking in Google. That's all I care about. So this looks really good. The header, obviously we have to, let's get a logo. Let's just get a really simple logo. I'll be right back. All right, so I made a quick logo. Let's see here. Do I want to get rid of this? I think I'll keep that element. And we'll just go ahead and upload this. And let's make the layout maybe 280. I do want to redo this logo eventually. I want to put a dog or something in here, but this was just what I could do in about 30 seconds. So we're just going to keep it for now. We can always replace it. It's only going here and probably in the footer somewhere, so only a couple locations to replace that. Of course, you can also add the logo as a custom field in your global variable settings, so it could be even easier to replace across the entire website. But we are going to be creating open graph images and featured images and other images that will just be baked into the website. So If we're going to replace the or the logo, we're probably going to do it sooner than later. But money loves speed. Let's just get something online, and then we can launch this thing. The phone number, obviously this is way too difficult to read, so I'm going to do some typography on this phone number. I'm probably going to make it white so it could stand out against the green background we have going on. There we go. And then maybe make it a lot bigger here. Maybe not that big. Font weight, let's bump it up to 700. The letter spacing, let's do, I don't know what is going on here. Let's do -10 pixels rather than M's. And then we can just make it look something like that. Obviously not going to be this big. Make it go down a little bit. Probably not white either. Let's go ahead and try to do the primary color. Letter spacing, a little too tight. 4 pixels. I think that looks pretty good. It's about the same size as the button. And let's put this in the middle. Make sure everything is centered in the cross axis. It looks like it is. It's probably just the line height here on the typography. So the line height equals 1. So it does look like it's in the middle. But for some reason, the baseline isn't actually, maybe it's just a visual thing, but it looks like the baseline isn't actually lining up perfectly with this part of the button, but I'm nitpicking. We don't need to nitpick. Just want to make sure this button goes to the contact page. It does. Instead of book now, let's do free quote. And then for all of these buttons in automatic CSS, I want to actually make the typography what we have in the headlines. So it doesn't actually look like you can style the typography for the buttons in automatic CSS. We just have it for headings and text. I don't see anything for buttons, so I think we're going to have to come over here to the theme styles, come down to button typography, and then this is where we're going to put in whatever it is called. There, Sansita. There we go. So we get the Sansita right in there. Font size, let's go ahead and bump that up. And it doesn't actually look like it's taking effect there, so it's probably over here in automatic CSS. So we have the type scale here for that. Let's come over here. There we go. So I had to come down to style primary. And I do want it to be a little bit bigger. Primary buttons over here. I don't want to have as much padding on the top and the bottom. Something like that. All right, that's looking pretty good. So let's come to typography for the navigation right here. And we're going to make this white. We're going to make the font weight a little heavy. Line height's looking good. So let's go ahead and save this. And then we'll come to the front end and just take a look at what this looks like. And that's looking pretty good. Big phone number, big free quote. We obviously need to add in a menu right here. And everything's looking good. Obviously the footer can use some styling and some help. I'm going to put the zip code form down here and then fill out some of these pages right here. So filling out the pages, obviously we already made that custom post type. So it's going to be very simple to just add new services in here. So I'm going to speed through this process and just add more location pages, add a ton more content, and then we'll be able to see the site more fleshed out. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like. Commercial pet waste removal in Whatcom County. We got the call to action, the intro, and we have some really nice cards right here. Phone numbers popping in. Things are looking good. We just need the featured image right here. We already have one kind of built in right here. We already have one uploaded rather. So just come here to featured image for services. And we have this commercial waste bin for pets right there. So just reload the page. Boom. Things are looking really good. I am going to move some things from the homepage that I added yesterday, like the customer promise. This is actually a component, so we can add it to any page and it will be a global component, and we can edit the text from page to page to optimize for the keywords, but it will be the same design and the same component across the website. We can add in some of these things. Looks like I need to fix some issues with these check marks. That will be pretty easy to do. Why choose us? Again, probably make this into a component. And then an FAQ section on the inner pages as well. So things are really moving along. Things are coming together. We have the phone number. So this is in our CRM. This is programmable. We can kick off automations with this. The free quote is also using GoHighLevel. So all of the customer data will come into them. This is obviously optimized for this niche, for number of dogs, cleanup frequency. Things are looking really good. We're just, a few hours into this website. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of my process? Where can I improve it? I'm always really looking for ways to improve my own process. But I think the way of doing this in Bricks and Brixies and automatic CSS, literally I could copy paste this website to another project or another client. And it would simply just be a matter of changing the typography and the colors, right? And I could totally rebrand it for a new client. So I think it works pretty well, but definitely let me know down in the comments if there's something that I can improve on. So we're going to come over here to menus, and here for under resources, main menu, locations. Let's do services, commercial. There we go. And then I just want to make sure that in this header, it's actually using the correct menu here. So it's not even selecting a menu. So that's obviously why it wasn't showing up. So let's just take a look at that, see what it looks like on the front end. So there we go, residential, commercial. And then this will just populate all the way across, probably have drop downs for the location pages. I think I am going to put, it actually gets lost right here on this skeuomorphic glass. So I can probably make that a little bit less opaque, as well as putting a dark line right here, or maybe a drop shadow under the header, because it is the same color as the homepage hero section. So right under here, what do you guys think? Should I put a dark line? Should I put a drop shadow? Let's see what a drop shadow looks like. So in automatic CSS, you can just say box shadow, and we could do medium or X, and we can save that, just see what that looks like here. That's a nice little shadow underneath, cast a shadow. That looks okay. It is the same color though. Debating if I should change this color right here. Let's see what it looks like with maybe dark color. That looks okay. Maybe a darker color like that, just to have a little bit more separation there. And I think it might actually be a little too tall as well. Let's come into layout and let's do maybe 0.25M. I think that looks a lot better. So we'll have more real estate here. There we go. Now we're cooking. So this skeuomorphic glass, let's see what we can do. If I come up here, I believe it's in CSS. Oh no, it was in the SAS, right. So over here in automatic CSS, whoops. Let's go ahead and open this up, global SAS, and here's the secondary color. So this opacity right here, it's at 0.2. Let's bump it up to 0.5. See what that looks like. It's gonna recompile that CSS for us. And let's go ahead and reload this. All right, 0.5, maybe 0.7. It doesn't look like that's actually affecting it. All right, so instead of 40% opacity for this, I actually went back to more of a light color, like a white. You can still see a little bit of blur going on back there. Maybe I'll bump it down to 70% opacity, so you can still see a little bit of the background. But I do like the white. It's just a cleaner look than the green. The green was getting a little bit hard to read with the different elements up here. But I think the white might actually be looking a lot better. So we're going to come back over here to the header. And it's not actually in here in CSS, even though it does set a background color right here. I believe it's actually controlled with this glass, or this class right here. So we can set that to maybe something like that. Reload. That's looking pretty good. I like that. It's looking clean. All right. What's really bugging me though is this zip code padding. And this is kind of controlled, which is controlled over here in GoHighLevel. And as you can see, I have it on one line. It should be on one line, single line. I covered this in the last section. It is so annoying how GoHighLevel does their padding in their scripts for their embedded forms, because you can't really control it that well. For some reason, it really wants to put a padding completely around the entire form. and I don't know what's going on. And maybe I can actually take this code and I'm going to copy this. If you try to edit this code directly in Bricks, it will actually break the form for some reason. It's probably some sort of bug. So I am going to go ahead and edit this code over here in Coda, make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. And so the width and the height, border radius, so there's not actually any styling from what I can tell for padding, right? But it is getting some sort of padding. You can see there over on the left-hand side, there's a massive amount of padding, and it says data layout inline. So everything here should be looking good. Let's go ahead and go back to Bricks. Maybe there's something strange going on here with the container that this is in. I'm just going to close down some of these pages just so I'm not saving over some of my work. So this is the front end, this is the Bricks builder. So for some reason, you can see here that GoHighLevel loves to add some sort of padding. It's not actually introducing padding in any of this code. Let me just double check that. So yeah, look right here, it says GoHighLevel form wrap. It has a margin of 60 pixels on either side. For some reason, it's throwing that in here. So let me just come back here and put in some custom CSS. I'm just going to put it right here. This will be for GoHighLevel. Let's comment that out. Margin 0 auto. And this should get rid of it. Even though there is a margin 0 auto right here, for some reason, it's getting this extra little bit of padding or margin, which didn't seem to fix it. That actually helped a little bit. Now it's pulled in a little bit more. 60. All right, I'm not really sure how to get rid of that. It's just something we're gonna have to deal with until we can get the CRM that I'm talking about, where we can do routing and sales stuff. But I think this website's looking pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. See what else we need to cover. All right, so what's next? We have SEO. Now, interlinking should be part of the design. I will show you an example of what I mean. This is a Bricks website that I made for a plumber in Honolulu, Hawaii. And if you come here to water heater repair, really any of these service pages, and you'll scroll down, it says, you may also be interested in tankless water heater installation or installation and replacement. So these are two custom links that I added to this custom post type of service. Obviously for water heater repair, they might be interested in these other pieces of content about water heaters, right? Tankless or installation and replacement. So this is a way that you can do it. Some SEOs will say you need to do it within the content itself, which is also a form of manual linking. But there's another way you can do it, which is service areas down here. If this shared a service area with any other city, this would populate using queries and query loops. It would actually put it down here. There isn't actually another water heater repair page for a different city on this website, so that's why it doesn't show right there. But you can also put a sidebar similar to this sticky contact where you just list all the services, right? And that will give you interlinking across the entire website for everything. But you might want to be a little bit more strategic. That's why these are strategically linked, because they're extremely topical. If you just link every page to every other page, you're going to confuse Google on what are the most important pages. Essentially, you want to have your pillar pages that are the most important, and you want to have all the link juice flow into those pages. So if they all link to each other, then you're kind of spreading out your link juice evenly across the website, which you may or may not want to do. I hope that makes sense. So here we have plumbing, leak detection, and drains and sewers. So each one of these is actually a pillar page. So leak detection has services within the leak detection category, right? And then we drill down into there. So if you think about the hierarchy of a website, it kind of just flows naturally as people are searching for exactly what they need. They can find it really easily. Now, in terms of this website, it's going to be very simple. It's just going to be residential and commercial, and then it's going to have some location pages, some FAQs, an about page, and that's pretty much it. Maybe refer a friend page. So it's going to be a lot more flat in terms of the hierarchy of pages. But if you're doing multi-location pages or websites, really larger build outs to capture traffic and leads from multiple different cities or towns kind of within the county, then you might want to structure it differently, right? This website only provides one service, whether it's residential or commercial. It's very simple, it's very flat, so we don't really have to worry about that. I am going to build out the location pages now, just so we can get some more content. All right, here I'm just going to put in a placeholder for locations, and then I'll come over to services and place all of these in here. And I'm not actually sure which one's which. That's the problem of the way I did this, instead of naming it city. But what I can see here when I look on the back end, if we come over here to services, I can easily see that the categories are Bellingham, Linden, Ferndale. So let's try that in that order. Let's just try Bellingham, Linden, and Ferndale. And then we can reload this. Looks like I need to style this a little bit. So Bellingham, just make sure these go to the right location. Yep, so Bellingham, Linden, and Ferndale. Boom. That is easy enough. It doesn't look like the other components are coming in here for some reason. So I'll have to see why that is here. For the single service page, I have these components right here for the CTA, as well as this component here for the Why Us section. And it looks like, so those definitely should be coming in here, even though I don't have any properties that are connected to these. They should appear just fine because this one actually has no properties connected either. You can see here it has 0 properties, and it's just coming in as the actual design. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe I just need to reload the permalinks. Of course, this is always something that you should check. Just resave permalinks to flush out that custom post type. And then we can come in here and reload. Still nothing. So that's something I'll have to troubleshoot. Components are new, so I'm not sure if they're completely fleshed out yet. But this is looking pretty good. Let me edit this header up here. You can easily come up here to edit header. All right, so this sub menu right here, background is BG light. Let's see here. We have action, and this is the sub menu, correct? So let's do that color. We definitely need some more padding on here, which I believe is right here, 0.25. That might be enough. Let's do 0.5 on top and bottom. Sometimes Google will get mad at you if you don't have enough space in between clickable elements. So maybe there's a link right next to a button like this. So Google is very picky about that stuff. That being said, Amazon has links all over the place, all right next to each other. So I'm not actually sure what the best practices are, but I don't think they also rely on organic traffic either. So that looks pretty good. For the item hover, I'm going to come up here to the hover state and the background for the item. I kind of want it to flip like that, and then the typography will actually flip to white, something like that. And then this caret right here, let's go back to the normal state. This caret is just has the size. Let's see. So this is icon, the top level typography for the icon. It says it should be white. So I just reset it to white again, and it popped in there. So that should be good. So now we flip from the primary color and we make the background of the item the primary color, and we flip it to white. I think that looks pretty decent. I might have to do a higher contrast background because there are elderly people that will be looking at this. For now, I think that looks pretty good. All right, now we're going to tackle a little bit on the footer. And I know we're getting a little sidetracked. I will hop into SEO here. I definitely got sidetracked just building everything out. But let me just edit some things down here really quick. Cool. So let's hop into the SEO. Now, search engine optimization, it's pretty straightforward from a setup standpoint, especially if you're using rank math. It will take you through a setup wizard. I always click advanced, start wizard, and this is a small business site. It is a service, and I guess you could say, well, technically it's a lawn care service, landscaping. You could just say a professional service. The website name is Scooby-Doo Pet Waste Removal. And for the organization name, you could just say whatever it is. The logo, let's go ahead and create this because this is a very specific, actually, you know what? I'm going to come back because I'm going to replace the logo anyway. So we can just save and continue. And we're going to connect our rank math account. And you'll likely have to reconnect it after you launch the primary domain because it will flip the domain in the account. So let me actually do that first because I don't want to have to come back here and do this. I know I'm bouncing kind of all over the place, but this is kind of just how it is with getting things ready for launch. Something that we didn't add is the schema code, which I kind of want to add after everything is live because we're going to be basing the links in the schema code off of the live domain. So a lot of the SEO stuff has to be put on pause until you launch on the website or on the primary domain and on your primary server. So I already bought the domain in Namecheap. If you don't know Namecheap, this is where I purchase all of my domains. It's really cool to come in here and just type in a random domain and it comes up with all of the different domain endings, which is really cool to see. Cool.sh is $50,000. Makes sense. Cool click, a cool 35 grand. But most of them, you put it in here, you put your brand name, and you'll be able to get it for 11 bucks a year. So very affordable, way better than GoDaddy. Do not use GoDaddy, use Namecheap. Link in the description. All right, so we've been doing this for about another hour. I'm going to hop over to my hosting. All right, so here I have my scoopydoowa.com, and I'm going to come here under domain, and I'm going to change the name servers over to my Cloudflare name servers. Once I do that, it's very simple, and you just manage everything over in Cloudflare. So here I am in GridPane, and I'm adding a new site here. It has a ton of different options. You can actually install bundles here, so you can, if you did want to develop directly on your hosting, and you didn't want to pay for InstaWP, something like that, you can actually have a bundle, and this is taking plugins and themes that I'm hosting on Google Drive, and you pass that URL to GridPane. GridPane grabs all of the code off of Google Drive, and it will install a bundle for you, and you can have different presets here for setup. Really in a way you're kind of building what InstaWP has, but I just like not on production. And then here's a bunch of different security methods. They have mod security, 7G and 6G. I just 7G because it is newer. And it has a DNS API integration directly with Cloudflare. And it has remote backups going to my AWS S3 bucket. And you can set different frequencies, how long you want to keep the backups. So all of this is set up for me right away from the get-go, and I can just click Add Site. If the domain is already pointed at Cloudflare, it will go ahead and just build it for you right away and pull the DNS using your connection. So here you can see it is creating the application. It looks like it's already created the database. And you can just click on this database to get the username and password we're going to use to log in to this fresh installation. All right, so check it out. We have a blank installation of WordPress on our domain right here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the username and password. All right, so now we have a clean admin installation here. I'm going to delete this anti-spam. Nginx Helper and Redis Object Cache. These are GridPane plugins for caching and speeding up the website. So what I'm going to actually do is come up here to add plugin, and I'm going to search for Migrate Guru. Now Migrate Guru is going to make it super easy for us to transfer the website from InstaWP over to here. So we need to grab this migration key, because what we're basically going to do is we are going to copy this key and you copy it on the destination installation, okay? So come back to our development site and we come down here and activate Migrate Guru. You're going to put in your email and then you're going to be taken to this page. So this is the site that we're migrating to the destination, and you just put in that migration key right here, and that's all you have to do. Hands-free, super simple, very easy. I actually never had issues with this plugin. Sometimes I have issues with the all-in-one migration plugin, although that is actually a nice offline backup solution. Usually if a client sunsets a website or I want to delete a website but I still want to backup, I'll download all-in-one migration. It'll give you a .wpress file that you can just store on your computer locally in the cloud somewhere and have a single file backup of the database, the plugins, the media, and everything else that you need. So this will probably take a couple minutes. I'm just going to pause it here. Boom, migration complete. That just took about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. So let's go ahead and visit the site here. And there we go. We have the website live on the domain. Obviously, it's going to be using the previous credentials that you set up on InstaWP to log into this. Probably replace those with my own credentials. But yeah, everything looking really good here. The custom fields are all working. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So from here, we can go back and do some of this SEO. So we're going to write some schema code. We're going to grab the sitemap and submit that in Search Console. We're going to check the site speed, get it indexed, and then we're going to test the forms and everything, although those are just connected to GoHighLevel, so those will flawlessly. And then, of course, we're going to configure rank math. All right, now that we're live on the actual domain, let's go ahead and set up rank math. You're going to go through a super simple wizard like this, select small business website, whatever it is. I'm at a logo here. They have to put it in a square format, which is kind of awkward, but I just added a big poop logo there to take up the space, and added an open graph image, default share. I thought using kind of a darker background would be kind of nice. So I did that, save and continue, and we're gonna just connect our rank math account, click activate. And again, I like to do this after you launch on the primary domain. So the next step is setting up Google Search Console. So you're gonna go over to your Google Search Console account and you're going to add a new property. And basically what you're gonna do is add a little DNS record to your domain, whether it's in Namecheap or Cloudflare. And this will take a couple of days to actually get some data in here. But the really important part is we're going to generate a sitemap within rank math. We're going to then put it back into Google Search Console. So it's kind of a two-step process where you're going to generate the sitemap in rank math and then input it into Search Console. So here I'm going to select create a new property for Google Analytics. And here I'm actually going to select install analytics code because I don't want to have to go and do that manually. Everything else here looks good. Save and continue. And here I definitely want to select services as public post types. Categories is fine because that is for our locations. And this is where your sitemap is created. Save and continue. SEO tweaks, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. Save and continue, and you are ready. Now, if you select advanced options, you can go ahead and set this stuff up. I like to monitor 404 errors and set up redirections on every single project that I do, especially if you're doing a redesign. You must set up redirections, which can be managed directly in Rank Math for free. So we're going to hit continue here and move on. Okay, so schema type for posts, it would be a article, yep. And then schema type for pages would actually be a service, and schema type for services would actually be a service. So we want to change those two and click save and continue. And there you go, you are completely set up for SEO and getting your sitemap. Now there's some additional things you can do, like set up your services title tags, meta descriptions, archives. I set all of these up manually, as you saw me do on setting up the individual service pages. I copy pasted that straight from Grok to, every single time. So you don't actually have to come here and do this as well. You can come in here and maybe tweak some of these things, like the street address once you get an address in here, and really just start to fill out a lot more of information. Like for this phone number, we definitely want to come back to our global variables and we want to grab this number that we have and we want to put that in here. Google will see this and it will link it to your Google listing and to your rankings or Google Map listing as well. So customer service, I believe is good for that. Price range, about page. These are all good things to set up. Geo coordinates, all really good things to set up once you have them. Basically, you want to fill this out as much as possible in terms of local SEO. But I'm going to show you a trick here where we are going to create some advanced schema using Grok. And we're just going to say, create advanced schema for me for Scooby-Doo. I said, create advanced schema for me for Scooby-Doo using this information, phone number, website, and then you want to put in logo URL. And I'm grabbing this directly from the media library. You can just click copy URL. You want to take it from the square format because that's what Google uses. And then you also want to give it your open graph image because I believe it puts that somewhere as well. And then I did open hours, price, and service area. So we can click submit and this will create advanced schema. Now, while that's working, you want to come to a schema validator. So it's validator.schema.org. You're going to select code snippet, and we're going to test this schema that Grok spits out here just to make sure that everything is looking good. So here you can see it puts in the logo, it puts in the image. So local business, price, 26 bucks, address, it puts in the city, it puts in latitude and longitude, and then it also puts in the service right here, and then commercial, one time, okay. And this is the only thing that you would want to change. Since we don't have a Facebook, Instagram, or a Twitter yet, you would just basically delete those objects. And if you don't know how to code, I guess I could teach you really quickly. Just pull this down here. So the thing with this JSON code is, or this script code is, after this comma, it creates a new entity. So the same as entity right here, you delete that between all the way to this square bracket. And then you also want to delete this comma because there's nothing that comes after that. So this square bracket will end this entity, whatever this is, services. And then the curly bracket closes the entire thing. So we can run the test, see if I did that right. It says 3 errors. The property service is not recognized by schema. So we can copy this, and then we come back to Grok, and we retrain Grok saying, hey man, you messed up. And then Grok will hopefully come out with some better code here. So we'll come back, run a new test, paste. Again, we're gonna have to get rid of that item, run test, and boom, look at that. That is some clean. So I'm gonna copy all of this, come back to my website, and you don't even have to download any special sort of plugin for this. You can just come up to Brick settings, come to custom code, and you can just go ahead and throw in, yep, perfect. So we're gonna put that in the header script right there, save settings, and beautiful. Now we have some really solid schema code. So when Google comes and reads your website, it will know exactly what it is all about from like a programmatic standpoint. Instead of trying to go through your design and your site structure and your HTML, it can just read it kind of in one fell swoop right here. And you can always come back to this and update it, which we'll probably do as we add more services, or you can just tell Grok to go ahead and update it. All right, so let's continue on with SEO. We still have one more thing to do, which is the sitemap. So let's come to the website. Let's just come to the homepage right here. So we're going to go to /sitemap.xml, and this will redirect you to the sitemap_index.xml. And this will give you the post, the page, the service, and the category sitemaps. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, come back to Google Search Console, add the sitemap in, and we're going to add in the index because it will automatically go and find those 4 other sitemaps. So here you can see, boom, boom, and we're having an issue right here saying it can't fetch the service sitemap. So that's a problem because obviously most of our content is in the services. So let's go back to Rank Math and just make sure that the sitemaps can be indexed. So I come over to here to services sitemap, and it looks like it can actually be included in the sitemap. That's ticked on. So maybe it's just a weird error that Google Search Console is throwing right here. We can try reloading the page as well. There we go. So service sitemap says success. It found 6 URLs, and we are good to go. So come back to this in a couple of days and you'll start to see your site indexing on Google, getting impressions, hopefully getting clicks because you did your on-page SEO correctly. And that's basically it for SEO. So what about performance and speed? Well, Lighthouse gives you mixed results because it really throttles it on a 3G network. No one's using 3G anymore. So you can come here to performance, and you can, right here you can change it to fast 4G if you're really getting throttled. But either way, it's getting really good performance. I mean, we can probably improve on that. But for the most part, you know, straight out of the box with Bricks and automatic CSS, it's getting a pretty decent score. All right, that's it from me today, guys. Yes, I got a haircut. I just got back from Japan. I'm feeling motivated. I started this video before I left. We were in Japan for 3 weeks, me and my family, and it was awesome, but I'm ready to get back to building websites and actually making money instead of spending it.